Hi, my name is Dr. Stephen Simpson, and thanks very much for finding my channel on YouTube. I'm an elite performance coach, and just in case you think that doesn't apply to you, well, it does, because I am of the firm conviction that we're all capable of a much higher level of performance than we give ourselves credit for, and that's my job. And today, I'm going to be talking a bit about COVID. Now, I have ignored this subject on my weekly podcasts and videos. I've occasionally mentioned a virus, but there's no getting away from it that our lives, every single one of the 8 billion of us on the planet at the moment, are being affected to a greater or lesser extent. And a group who are being particularly affected at the moment are those who are looking after homeschooling. It's obviously a new experience for them. It's a frightening experience. It's a tremendous responsibility. And I've only got to listen to the news, watch the news, or even go into my inbox, and I can see the angst that this is causing people. So I've got a guest on the show today who's going to help us kick this subject off. And my mission is to make her feel a lot more relaxed at the end than she will be at the beginning, and to demonstrate some simple techniques that all of us can use immediately, really, and to find a bit more peace in a very crazy world. So welcome, Natalie, to the show.
Hello.
Also known as Nat. Nat is a wizard at social media and many other things too. She has some big responsibilities in life, apart from running her own very successful business. She's a wife and she's a mother, and she's going to be talking about that. And she's also a great networker. And so she is very much clued into the things that are causing the mums distress. And bear in mind, by the way, that a lot of dads do homeschooling as well. And I've had to do it myself in the past, probably not very successfully, but I managed to sort of teach English, Spanish, and mathematics to my 15-year-old son. Now, as I didn't have a clue about mathematics and only just scraped an exam pass myself, that was a stretch for him, and particularly for me. Okay, Nat, so what's going on in the mum's world? What's occupying themselves at the moment?
Oh, what is not going on in a mum's world, I think it's now 4 o'clock and the day is nowhere near finished. I think any mum, especially when you're juggling the homeschooling with work, there's not enough hours in the day, and the guilt factor is always there, where you feel like not fulfilling in anything you're doing, you're just getting by. And you have this idyllic kind of picture of what you think homeschooling should be, and you promise yourself you're not going to be that person who's shouty to get the answer out your child. But when you've got everything against you and you've said the long division question about 8 times and they're still not focusing on what they're doing, you turn into something you don't want to turn to. I think that is the problem with mums at the moment. We have turned into something we don't want to be. And that is purely down to the fact that we are supposed to be keeping all the balls in the air, and we have to put all our hats on at the same time. And that's what we're struggling with. And it is parents as well, but I think mainly it is mums, because let's face it, they do tend to be the very good jugglers and the ones who say yes. And I think they are the ones who are struggling the most.
Yeah, well, with my clients, I always tell them to do one job at a time and not to multitask. And when my client happens to be a busy mum, she normally just laughs at me at that point.
Yeah. And it was, before lockdown, we were juggling, but at least, they were at school for 6 hours a day. So even though they're on your brain, you've got to pick them up, or, you've got to fill out that form for them, you can get on with your working day.
Yeah, so the mums and the dads that are hopefully going to find this video, what do you think they want to hear? What do they want to discover?
I think they need to hear, how do you switch off? We know that multitasking is not the best way of doing things. So we need to know, well, how can we say, and not feel guilty. How can we say to ourselves and not feel guilty? Right, I'm going to spend an hour on this project, and then I'm going to sit down with my son and do maths for an hour. You know, because it's very easy to put a timetable together at the beginning of the day or the beginning of the week. This is how it's going to go. But there's always curveballs, and you know, your children are not robots. They're not, you know, that they're going to throw things at you did not expect. Quite literally, they will throw something you didn't expect it. So I think, yeah, it's how to cope with those situations, what you did not plan for, and how to unwind at the end of the day. Because, you know, even if you do sit down in the evenings, you're thinking about the next day. How am I going to cope the next day? So it's about unwinding. How can I unwind and plan a day realistically, I think.
Okay. Well, all that sounds quite simple, but no pressure on Steve.
No pressure.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to start with a very, very simple explanation of how our brains work. You see, the trouble is we were born with a fantastic brain, and it didn't come with the manual, and that's where most of us have gone wrong. So here we go. Let's divide the brain into two. We have the conscious mind, which sometimes is loosely called ego, which is where all of us live all of the time. And this is the part of the brain that's actually quite small, but thinks it's in charge of everything. And it gets really stressed out when it finds out there are some things in life that it can't control. And of course, the far more powerful part of the brain, which is where people like me love to lurk around and work around, is called the unconscious mind. And if all of us can tap more into the unconscious mind, we will find some of the things that Nat says that the mums are looking for. We'll find peace of mind, we'll find some clarity, we'll find a higher level of performance than we've ever had before. We will, if not reduce the anxiety, at least we will lessen the anxiety. This is the place where athletes like to be. They call it being in the zone. And golfers like to be. Musicians like to be there. They know when they're loose. They know when they're tight. They know where they're in the groove. It's called being in the zone, being in flow. So that's what I try and teach to all of my clients one way or the other. And then we're going to have a go at that this afternoon. So how does that sound so far?
That sounds brilliant, yeah.
That's brilliant. Okay, now we're not going to find any answers in the conscious mind. The trouble is the conscious mind is just too analytical, too logical, and certainly too self-critical, which is, I think Nat mentioned the word guilt at least 2 times. Now, if I have time, we might explore exactly why she feels guilty. What has she done that's such a crime? But anyway, let's find some ways to go to connect to the unconscious mind and see if we can buy ourselves a little peace and quiet and clarity and insight. So what I'm going to do, I've jumbled together about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 simple techniques, which I'm going to now experiment with Nat. She bravely, courageously, some might say foolishly, has volunteered for this trial. Are you still with us, Nat?
I'm still, yep, a bit nervous, but I'm still here, yep.
I thought I heard the door closing there. Anyway, now this is what I want you to do, Nat. As you can see, I position myself so that you can see my arms.
Yeah.
And I'm doing a very strange thing. I'm stroking them, and I'd like you to do the same, please. Okay. Now, how fast, how slow? Tends to be quite slow, but really you just be guided by your own intuition on this. How firm, how soft? Same answer. Do you put your whole hand on your arm or just a finger or a couple of fingers? Try it and see which works best for you. Now, I want you to keep on doing this now until I tell you to stop or until you can't stand the pain anymore. And the other thing I'd like you to do is to trust me, I'm a doctor. You wouldn't believe how many times I've said that. And I'd like you to close your eyes. And the reason why I've asked Nat to close her eyes is that, funnily enough, when our eyes are closed, we use a lot more nerve cells in our brain and other parts of the body than if our eyes are open. Because what we can do when our eyes are closed is we can visualize stuff more effectively at a deeper level. At a conscious level, we are very good at visualizing things in our conscious mind, and that's caused the what if syndrome. What if this happens? What if that happens? And these are purely hallucinations, or they're certainly illusions, because none of us know what's going to happen in the future. We know what's happened in the past, and we can't change the past, but we can change the way we think about it. And the only thing that we do know about is what's in the moment. And that's why you'll have heard so many coaches say, stay in the moment, be in the now. And closing our eyes just helps us to do that. And funnily enough, rubbing our arms like this does as well. Now, why would that be? Well, we've all got our own theories, but I call this a reptile reflex. There's something about stroking our arms that goes straight into some sensors in the brain. It's instinctive, particularly with mums. Hear a crying child, mum will be comforting. Chances are she'll have her arm around the child. Chances are she'll be stroking the child on the arm. Chances are the child will stop crying. So we're giving ourselves a bit of this reptile reflex at the moment, but we're going to combine it with a few other things as well. So Nat, don't answer this question, but these are kind of hypothetical questions. I'd like you to think about a time, any time, when you were in flow, when you felt things really going well. You felt like almost easy, although you didn't want to tell anybody that because that wouldn't be very modest. A time when you were really good at something. Now you can give me a nod. I'm going to ask you the question. You can nod or shake your head. Have you thought of something? Yeah, that's a nod of the head. That's great. Now, if you had to describe in one word how you felt this great time, choose a word. Don't tell me. I'm going to ask you about it later. And give me a nod when you've got a word. Good. Okay. Now, if this word had a color, what would the color be? Again, don't tell me. Just have a think. What would the color be? And then give me a nod. Yeah. And if this word had some music attached, what kind of music would it be? And again, give me a nod. Well, you've got it. Okay, you've got the music? Yep, great. Okay, you can stop stroking your arms now for a minute before they drop off. And now you're a little more relaxed. We're going to do something that people have only just discovered. Well, that's a bit of an exaggeration. We're going to learn how to breathe. I want you to breathe in a little more slowly than normal and a little deeper than normal. And carry on doing that for a little while I ramble on. The reason why we like people to breathe a little slower is because it's much harder to be anxious and worrying and stressed out when we're breathing slowly. And of course, there's always an opposite. It's very difficult to be calm, confident, and relaxed when we're breathing fast. So all the people through the centuries that have taught breathing techniques, they were onto something. But once again, here we are, born without the manual, having to pick all these things up. In the good old days, it was Granny who would teach us these stuff. But grannies are now, well, I was going to say, traveling all over the world on wonderful holidays, because they're not traveling anywhere at the moment, sadly, for them and for us. Okay. When you're ready, Nat, open your eyes and attempt a safe re-entry to planet Earth. Oh, how did that feel?
That felt good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm quite impressed that I came up with a word very quickly.
Oh, good. Thank you for reminding me. Of course, that's the whole point of the exercise. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the trouble of not having a script. Anyway, what was your word, Nat? Can't wait to hear it.
In control. Just being in control. But yeah.
Oh,
I was quite shocked. I was quite shocked that I could sum it up like that. Yeah.
In control. Well, last time I checked, I think that's 2 words, but you're allowed to use 2.
Sorry, yeah.
So we can just say control.
Yeah,
in control is good. Yeah, because we like to be. We love to be in control, and it really spooks us out when we're not. And that's one of the reasons why people are so fearful at the moment, because they know there's not much they can control. I mean, getting back to the mums and the dads who are doing the homeschooling, have you got any idea when the schools are going to be open again?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
is there anything you can do about that?
No.
No, not really. Yeah. So we just have to live with it.
Mm.
Anyway, so the in control, yeah. And what would the colour be?
Yellow.
Yellow. That's a nice bright colour.
Do
you like yellow?
It's not one of my favourite colours, but it was the first colour I saw.
Yeah.
In the vision I was having it. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And what about the music?
Upbeat, very kind of an 80s, like Walking on Sunshine type thing.
Walking on Sunshine. Well, Sunshine's yellow. That's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Didn't make that connect. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, we have an expression with people. You see, people tend to, I don't know what it is about human beings, but we tend to be a little negative. You know, when you ask someone, well, I ask these questions of people all the time. Can you think of some great things that have happened today? And they think and they think and they think, oh, maybe. And they say, okay, well, we'll have a bit more of a think about that later. Can you think of any things that haven't gone well today? Where do I stop? So we're really good at remembering negative stuff, but you see, good things do happen. So that's why we call this little game, Think of a Time When. So I asked you to think of a time when. So to remind yourself that there are times when, even if you're not like totally in control, you're in control enough to know that you're doing the best job you can and that you're not going to feel guilty about it. So as a suggestion, and it's up to you and your unconscious mind how you use this, it would be very good to keep reminding yourself of this and associate it with the color and the music. And to do this several times a day, or at least a couple, or when you're starting to think, I'm losing this one big time, when you need something to bring you back to the now.
Yeah, thinking about it makes me think of the confidence I had when I was at that point of my life. And it does feel good if picturing that moment and trying to bring it in, hopefully adopt that confidence again.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, the other thing I was going to say is that we're all caught up in a movie at the moment, and particularly, with reference to the homeschoolers. There's a classical Hollywood script, and I am going to have a quick look at my notes because I'm going to forget some of this. And the movie starts like this. Everything's good. There's your average family with the dog. Nobody's arguing. There's obviously money coming in. There's food on the table. There's people laughing. When suddenly something happens. And something has happened to all of us in this world. I'm not going to call it by its name, but we know what it is. And our life turns upside down. And the situation of this little video is that we've found people who have to educate or try to educate their kids because nobody else is going to. So it's not like they say, no, I can't do this. This will have to go to somewhere else. There is nowhere else. So you didn't volunteer for this mission, and you alluded to it when you were describing it so well to us all. but don't make any difference. This is a mission that you can't walk away from. There is nowhere to walk to. So you think then, of course, the old conscious brain, what if, but I'm not qualified. I don't know how to teach these things. I struggled to get through school myself. Well, don't worry about it, because there's nobody else. When I started my medical career, in Africa, there were no other doctors for hundreds of miles around, and I was having to deal with stuff that I'd never seen, let alone dealt with. So you think, well, what do I do? Well, you do the best you can. And funnily enough, when we can connect to the unconscious mind, often the best we can do is very good indeed. Because at the end of the day, we do things instinctively, intuitively. We can read all the books about bringing up kids, but at the end of the day, we just have feelings about our kids. We know when they're ill before the doctor does, which is why good doctors always listen to parents. And so it is with education. I mean, if you've got any doubts about that, I know education is a lot better than when I was there, because I went to 2 lousy schools with lousy teachers, and I didn't learn much, quite frankly. I learned more from other places. But if you think you're the worst teacher in the world, I can guarantee you won't be. There'll be qualified teachers worse than you.
I've had my moments.
You have your moments, I'm sure you do. You've told me about some of them. I'm quite envious, how you plan the leisure activities as well. I thought, wow, blimey, I wouldn't mind some of that. I'd definitely go to school for that. So in our vocabulary, the word guilty is gone. It just doesn't apply. Because in this Hollywood movie, of course, you find that you're involved, and then just when you think there's no way out, there's nothing you can do, superpowers arrive, the cavalry arrive, something happens, and you realize that this mission is bigger than you thought it was, and things actually start to go well. And of course, good movies always end happily, so this one will too. We think in movies all the time. That's why I just give a movie example, because we've got such vivid imaginations. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's some things for people to think about. We've talked about quite a lot in a short period of time. What else do you think? What do you think might be most helpful as a takeaway from today?
It's coping strategies. I think it's, I mean, this, where when everything happens at once, you have that period of the day. I had it a few weeks ago. In the space of 15 minutes, every part of my life, personal life, work life, homeschooling life, it all went wrong in the space of 10 minutes, and every single avenue needed my attention. And I had to choose at that moment what was the most important thing to deal with. And I'm hoping I know I did pick the right thing, and I had to contact my family, and I had to deal with that. But by doing that, I'm struggling because I'm not doing the other things which have gone wrong at exactly the same time. It always seems to happen at once. It's never spread out amongst the day. And then you spend the whole day kicking off at yourself about it. You're like, well, I can't control it. I can't schedule in things to happen. They just happen. And it's learning not to kick off. It's techniques so I don't kick off and start shouting and blaming. And I don't know who I'm blaming or what I'm blaming, because there's no one thing with this, is it? It was, that's it.
Yeah, well, these things do happen, and all you can do when 4 or 5 things happen at once are you really, again, it's one of these instinctive things. Listen to your intuition, keep on breathing, and the chances are you'll choose the right one. And even if you don't, it's better than freezing and not doing anything.
Yeah.
There's a little mantra that I wasn't going to mention this, but you reminded me of it, and I use it with all my clients sooner or later. And I get them to say this out aloud in the bathroom mirror. The reason why I get them to say it out aloud is, again, once more nerve cells, and it will go like this. I will never, ever say anything bad about myself ever again. I'll say it again. I will never, ever say anything bad about myself ever again. And if you do that every day, and if you catch yourself every time you're making some self-deprecating or critical comment about yourself, after about a month, you will notice the change. And those close to you will notice it more. Simple trick, but it works. I've used it hundreds, if not thousands of times. And of course, I use it on myself. I was coaching a group of young golfers, and they said, we're not too happy with this. And I said, why is that? I said, well, if we really do this, aren't we going to be very arrogant, and our friends won't like us? And I hadn't really thought of that. And so I added a little bit for them, and just in case of anybody else who might be worrying about that. I will never, ever say anything bad about myself ever again, because I can trust the rest of the world, my family and friends, to tell me when I screw up. And that's where we learn stuff, by making mistakes. It's not the end of the world to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay, Nat, what did I miss out about your job description and your job here? Because there might be some people who want to get in touch with you and ask you some questions.
I support SMEs with their marketing and sales. So I act as a consultant and I act as a marketing manager. So it's like the daily running of campaigns, or if it's just, a consultant coming in to give ideas of what they can be doing, the demographic audience, that's basically me. So I do a lot of social media, I do a lot of PR, I do a lot of networking, putting me in contact with the right people. I have over 18 years experience in marketing in different sectors, but my favourite, and that's the reason why I set the business up, was working with SMEs. That was my bag. That's what I wanted to do. So, and I love it. I love talking about marketing. Absolutely love it.
Well, good for you. And how do people get in touch with you if they want to?
You can get in contact with me on my email or my telephone number. I can give it to you later on, put it in the post or something. But my website is stepupmarketing.company. You go on there, you'll see all the different services I offer, and you'll see some reviews. It's all there.
Yeah, okay. And if you still can't find Natalie, then you can contact me. I've got a website you should probably find quite easily, drstephensimpson.com. And anyway, all my contact details are on YouTube, and I'll pass on your messages to Natalie. So thanks for being with us. I hope we've been able to offer a small little bits of comfort at least.
No, I'm going to be using the technique, the technique of visualizing, and I will keep on saying those words to myself. And I'm sure my husband definitely does tell me when I do things wrong and make mistakes. So
yeah, well, that's why people get married, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah.
Well, and also I can endorse how good Nat is at her work, because she's doing some social media stuff for me. So
I enjoy working with you. It's really interesting.
And thank you everybody for watching this video. And I'm always looking for new ideas for new videos, or even guests to have on the show. So let me know. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay well, and if at all possible, try something really difficult and just smile occasionally. Goodbye for now.